Greetings fellow humans and welcome to another episode of Emily Does Stuff with Makeup. So, I don't wear foundation very often these days because it's really difficult for me to find a foundation that works for me. I have kind of neutral, cool toned skin, and on top of that, I am a very, very pale person, you may have noticed. A lot of really pale foundations have like a really, really pink undertone, and my skin does not have those. I also have quite sensitive skin, so there is a lot of makeup that disagrees with said skin. Finding one that is the right tone, is pale enough for this ridiculousness, and doesn't make my skin hate me is quite challenging. So I went to the interweb and I did a very, very large amount of research and ended up with 15 different foundations that looked like they might be promising. So one of the less expensive foundations that I tried was Rimmel Match Perfection in Fair Porcelain. My overall thoughts on this is that it applied quite well, it wears pretty well, it goes on quite smoothly. It took quite a bit of the product to get decent coverage, which is fine for the price point. If I'm spending £9 on a 30ml bottle of foundation, I'm not too fussed about needing to use a little bit more of it to get the coverage that I want. The biggest downside of this one is that not only did it make me break, I actually had an allergic reaction to it and ended up with like a slightly raised bumpy red rash across a large portion of my face. Also, one of the things that really annoyed me about this foundation's packaging was this. You can't pick it up by its top, so I ended up dropping it on the floor a lot. Not a fan, did not like, not for me. Next up, kids, we have MAC Studio Fix. Because I am a pale, pale human, the only foundation that MAC makes that goes pale enough for me is the Studio Fix. I tried two different shades. I tried NC10 and I tried NC5. NC5 is the palest shade of foundation that they make. Under artificial light, the NC10 looked good, but in natural light it did not match me at all. The NC5 looked very yellow under artificial light, however, over time, on the skin, and in natural light, was a better match. There we go. Overall thoughts on MAC Studio Fix. It smells so bad. So bad. It smells the worst of any of the foundations that I tried. I didn't want that scent on my face, but I did it for science. Other thoughts. It applies well and it wears pretty well. It has very buildable coverage, which I'm into, but it felt really, really oily on my skin and I was so aware that it was there. Also, it made me break out big time. If I'm gonna be spending £27 on a foundation, I would prefer that it didn't smell like death. Next thing that I tried, NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop Matte Foundation in Light. It costs £15 per bottle. It's a very good colour match. That's kind of where the nice things I can say about this end. Like a lot of matte foundations, it dries over time. However, the drying was so intense that it was drying out as I was applying it. Because it really dried out on my skin, it ended up actually really highlighting the areas of my skin that are dry, got all up in my dry skin, and really, really made it apparent that I needed a good exfoliate. As soon as I put it on, my skin started being slightly itchy. She's gonna break out. My skin remained irritated for a reasonable amount of time after I removed it. Not the one for me. One of the pricier foundations that I tried was NARS Sheer Glow in the colour Siberia. This costs £33.50 per bottle, and I'm just gonna go on a bitch fest about this, guys. It applied really thinly, incredibly sheer coverage, or really, really heavy coverage with like no in between. It really highlighted everything on my face I didn't want it to. Like, it settled into pores and any wrinkles, got all up in my dry skin and really showed that that was there. And it felt like really heavy and quite sticky on my face, which was an incredibly unpleasant sensation. So much so that I could only deal with it for about 10 minutes before I took all of it off, which I'm very happy that I did, because underneath my skin was like bright red and really, really angry. So clearly it did not like that foundation. Never again. Yeah, no, hard pass. So one of the less expensive foundations that I tried that I was actually really impressed with was L'Oreal True Match in Porcelain. It applied and blended really well and had very buildable coverage. It felt very light on my skin. I didn't really feel like I was wearing anything more than powder. The colour match was pretty good, both under artificial light and actually in natural light as well. I was really impressed with how it wore. It doesn't dry out too much, but it also isn't super oily. I did need to use a reasonable amount of the product to get decent coverage, but it's £10 a bottle. I don't mind slapping it on a bit for that price point. Out of all the ones that I tried, it was probably my favourite, which I did not expect it to be. L'Oreal True Match did not make me break out. It's a Christmas miracle, despite being April. Another one, which is actually one of the cheapest ones that I tried, was this from The Ordinary in Very Fair Neutral. I didn't know anything about The Ordinary until I started researching foundations for pale people. They're a really cool company from what I can see, and their prices are incredibly reasonable. This 30ml bottle was £5.70. It is nearly the cheapest foundation that I tried. It has quite a watery consistency, and so I expected it to apply quite badly. However, it actually went on really well, and I needed to use far less of it than I thought I would. It wore pretty well through the day. It felt pretty light on my skin. Again, this is one that I really liked and will continue to use. So there you go. Big up The Ordinary. Well done. In the interest of trying a large range of products of various different price points and types, I also decided to see if I could find any foundation that would work for me at Primark. PS Colour Perfect Matte Foundation in Porcelain is a theme, guys. It's me being pale. This costs £3. It is a matte foundation. It is heavier coverage than I usually wear. It does smell a little bit gross. Not the worst of the 15 foundations that I tried, but also not the best. It did wear okay on my face. Definitely not the worst. It did give me the teeniest, babiest breakout. But again, not the worst. This was really transfer proof, which I appreciate as a super pale person who wears a lot of black. Overall, I was actually pretty impressed with this. I did not expect to like it, but it holds like a solid 4th place in the running. Another that I tried was Bobbi Brown Skin Longwear Weightless Foundation in Porcelain. It's £32 for a 30ml bottle. It has the look of a heavy coverage foundation without the actual coverage that you would expect for that. I needed a surprising amount of product to get the coverage that I was getting from other foundations, which for a £32 bottle of foundation, I would not be too happy about. Question is, did I break out? Worse than that, I had a reaction and ended up with red bumps all over my face again. Again, on the more expensive end of the spectrum, I tried Clarins Everlasting Youth Fluid, which just sounds disgusting, in the colour Cream. It's £35. The colour match wasn't great. I would say that their neutral colour is actually on the warm side because it came up on my skin very, very yellow. It applies pretty well and it feels okay on the face. And in terms of its coverage for like evening out skin tone, it's pretty good. However, it really picked up and almost highlighted various imperfections and bits of texture, which is not great. And it made me not a fan. I tried 2 different Yves Saint Laurent foundations. The first one was their All Hours foundation in Cool Milk. It's £36 per bottle. I don't like spending large amounts of money on my makeup unless it's something that is really exceptional. Overall thoughts on the All Hours foundation is that it does apply quite well. It had pretty good coverage and evened my skin tone and skin texture. It felt quite light on my skin, which is a bonus, and was a very good colour match. I didn't need to use a lot of the product to get good coverage, but it did wear off. For something that's an all hours foundation, I would expect it to last longer. It started wearing off after a couple of hours. The other Yves Saint Laurent foundation that I tried was their Touche Éclat. Touche Éclat Le Tien. Again, £36 per bottle. Again, applied well. Did not need a lot of product. It evens texture really well, and again, felt very light on my skin. Lighter than the other Yves Saint Laurent foundation. It was the same colour as the other YSL foundation, so again, quite good colour match. And again, it did wear off of my face faster than I would expect for a luxury product. So like 3 to 4 hours after I applied it, my nose was pretty much back to being completely without foundation. Lancôme Ultrawear in beige ochre. I appreciate that they're trying to make being a sunless vampiric freak sound glamorous, but like, no. Just no. So it's £34 per bottle. It applies well. It took quite a lot of product, which I resent for something that costs that amount of money. But good God, does it pick up all of your skin texture. It just really highlighted the areas where I had like dry skin or, you know, previous spots. It had medium coverage that was pretty buildable and it was a good colour match. I feel very meh about this foundation. It didn't make me break out, but also I never want to put it on my face again. On to the next. Estée Lauder Double Wear in Alabaster. Again, it's £34 per bottle. Generally with my foundation, I put it onto the back of my hand to then use a brush to apply it. It started drying out on my hand, on my brush, and on my face. It was incredibly difficult to blend. It settled into my pores, so it really, really highlighted the pores on my nose and my upper cheeks. God, it wore so badly. It dried out and it rubbed off, but it only rubbed off on the surface of my skin. The only places it stayed were where it had settled into my pores. It made me and also, despite it easily rubbing off my face just with life and friction, it was really, really hard to remove it. Not impressed. Not a happy bunny. Dislike. Intensely. Urban Decay Stay Naked. In 10NN. Less glamorous title. More functional. It costs £31 per bottle. Overall thoughts? Yeah, it's okay. It's pretty good. As an overall average of the group, it's definitely in the top 4. Probably like my third favourite, just above Primark, but for 10 times the price. Isn't that what you want? Slightly better than something for an extortionately larger amount of money. It's great. Overall thoughts, applies pretty smoothly, but I needed more product than some of the other ones that I've used to get decent coverage, and seeing as it is £31 a bottle, then meh, not too happy about that. It evened out my skin tone and texture pretty well, and it was a good colour match. It wore pretty well throughout the day, and I did not have a breakout because of it. So from that perspective, pretty good. In a general sense, pretty middle of the road. So the last foundation that I tried, I hadn't planned to. I was searching for other foundations that I'd heard were good for pale people when I stumbled across, in the department store, a Bare Minerals kiosk. Is that what they're called? Station. Shop. Whatever. Stall. We'll go with that. It's a stall. Now, I'm aware of Bare Minerals as a sensitively skinned person. All of their stuff is hypoallergenic. I used to use their face powder. I had no idea that they made liquid foundation, so I tried the Bare Minerals Bare Pro Liquid in light. No, in fair. It costs £31 a bottle. It applies well, which is nice. It was a reasonably thin foundation, so I thought it would take a lot to get good coverage, but actually I needed very little product. It had good coverage, it felt quite light on my skin, but still evened out my skin tone and texture. It did pick up like a tiny bit in my drier areas, but I hadn't moisturised that morning. More testing will be necessary to figure out if that was the foundation or me. We will need to isolate the variables. The colour match was pretty good, and it wore quite well. So yeah, Bare Minerals was decent. I was happy about it. So what did I learn? What did I learn from trying 15 different foundations? Luxury foundations aren't great. The fact that the majority of big name fancy foundations were beaten by Primark either says a lot about the quality of Primark's makeup, or that a lot of the time when people buy foundations from luxury brands, they are buying the name, not the product. Also, try foundations, try your foundation. The majority of brands will give you like a teeny tiny sample of it that you can go and try for a couple of days, so you know if you get on with it. Try your foundations. Don't rely on, oh, it is fancy, therefore it must be good. Oh, it's expensive, therefore it must be good. No, it's not how it works. My favourites, I really like the Bare Minerals foundation. The Urban Decay Stay Naked was also good. The Primark matte foundation was a surprising find. And then L'Oreal True Match and The Ordinary's foundation were also really good. The biggest thing for me out of that though is of those 5, 2 of them cost more than £30 a bottle and the rest of them cost £10 or less. The Bare Minerals and the Urban Decay cost 10 times the price of the Primark foundation. I do not think that they are 10 times as good, so I don't think it's worth spending that amount of money on for me. They're 3 times the price of the L'Oreal True Match one. I don't think they're 3 times as good. The cheapies were the best ones for me. If you liked this video, then punch that like button. If you would like to see more videos that I put out, then hit subscribe and turn on notifications so that you know when I'm going to post, when I have posted. That's what I meant to say. If you know somebody that you think would like this, then give it a share. That is a huge help to me, and also it gives me the warm fuzzies that people enjoyed a thing I did enough to share it with other people. It's really lovely. I will see you guys next time. Big love.